All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on our trip to the Costa Brava today. We are delighted that you are joining us on our trip there to Spain with one of our favorite on location companies, Titanium Tours. My name is Diana St. James, and I am one of the owners of Dimensions in Travel along with Joe Romano. Safe travel is coming back, although we are experiencing some hiccups right now. I feel like we are on the path for safe travel, and now is the time to be planning your experiences for the future. I think if you wait until it's completely safe, likely you will find availability limited or you'll be traveling in 22 or 23. So do reach out to us with any travel ideas that you have, and we can talk about the right time for you to be booking those. But let's talk about Spain today. I have a trip to Spain planned myself for September with Titanium Tours, and I can't wait to go. But before we get started with our event, I want to remind you we are recording this and we'll be sending out the link afterwards, posting it on our website as well as our YouTube channel. So you'll never miss one of these. You are in listen only mode as well as your cameras are off. I think that helps to minimize distractions for everyone. And if you have any questions, please post them in the chat box down at the bottom. And either I'll be answering them during our guests' talk, or we'll take a look at them afterwards. Well, let's see. Let's head over to Spain now. Travel with us to the northeast corner of Spain for an insider's look at the Costa Brava. Costa is the Spanish word for coast, and Brava means rugged or wild. And this area is famous for its deep blue sea coves, golden sand beaches, medieval towns, fishing villages, ancient fortresses like the one you're seeing on your screen right now, and the works of Salvador Dalí, who worked and painted there. The Costa Brava is only 1.5 hours north of Barcelona, a driving distance, so it's easy to add to any itinerary that involves Barcelona. The coastal hotels all have stunning views of the Mediterranean, as you will see, and the restaurants offer savory paella. And we are going to, in this journey with our guests, we're going to sail, dive, snorkel, ride a hot air balloon, make our own perfume, and walk, bike, or even e-bike along the Camí de Ronda. And hopefully I pronounced that right, which is a great coastal path that follows the seashore of the Costa Brava. But before we go, I would like to introduce our guest, and his name is Jesus Repeto. He is the co-founder and CEO of Titanium Tours. Jesus was born and raised in Seville, Spain. He is a seasoned entrepreneur, dividing his time between Spain and the US while leading a team of creative travel designers who always help everyone at Dimensions in Travel craft custom itineraries for you. They are working on a rooftop Madrid walking tour for me for my upcoming trip to Spain, and I can't wait to do it. Jesus is also the chairman and CEO of a healthcare nonprofit, the Cancer Hope Network, as well as a mentor for the University of San Francisco School of Business, their MBA students. So he's a very well-rounded person. We've been working with Jesus and his team since 2013, and we're thrilled he is here today to share his passion for his country. He's a longtime resident of the United States, though, so he understands the level of service that our clients are expecting when they arrive in Spain, and they believe in exceeding those expectations. In 2019, his company was awarded the Ensemble Travel Group's On Location Partner of the Year award, well earned, and it was voted on by over 800 travel agencies in North America. And Jesus, congratulations again on that. So we are looking forward to our journey today with you to the Costa Brava. Welcome and take it away. Take us to Spain, please.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Diana. Thank you for your very kind words. And thank you to everybody that decided to join us tonight. I am very excited to be sharing with you about a part of my country that is lesser known, but very, very interesting. I think you're going to see there's, it's like Diana said, it's very accessible to Americans, just an hour and a half north of Barcelona, so you can fly in direct and just travel north. And there's so much to do. You could spend a whole week there. It's a wild area. It's got beautiful seas, golden sand beaches, medieval towns. It's a rugged coast, and you're going to see how I would, experience it, or how, different depending on what, makes you excited when you travel, all the different options that you have there. So, my job here is to help you imagine having a few days in Costa Brava. This is not an itinerary. This is not a sales pitch, I just want to transport you visually and with my words to this beautiful, beautiful area of Spain. So let me start by showing you where it's at. So you see, here's Barcelona, which has direct flights to the US. And then you're going to go, Girona is the capital. So everything between here and the Pyrenees in France, this is the Costa Brava. And this is what we're going to explore today. So in this imaginary trip, I have picked this hotel, which is very, very beautiful, and it's got a location that it's just insane. And this sort of piece of land that creates two coves. This is Hostal de la Gavina. It's a 5-star hotel that is part of leading hotels of the world. And I would imagine it as my home in Costa Brava because of this private enclave on this Saint Agaro, piece of the land. It's like a garden city that overlooks the Mediterranean. It was opened in 1932, and they built a promenade that you can see there in the picture, see how it goes around there, which leads directly from the hotel, and it has 20 miles of coastline. And then it actually connects to another hiking trail called the Camí de Ronda that we're going to see later. So this esplanade, it skirts the seawalls, providing some of the most beautiful views in the region. You could take a walk, and smell the scents of pine and bougainvillea filling the air, and the rocks divide this, and the golden sand divide into coves. One that is good for swimming that you see in the picture, and the other one that it's actually a reserve, and it's teeming with marine life, and it's perfect for snorkeling. This hotel is just so interesting that it actually was, featured in many, many movies since the early 1950s. Movies like Pandora with Ava Gardner, Suddenly Last Summer with Elizabeth Taylor, Mr. Arkadin by Orson Welles. You can see them here, all of them in the picture. They were all shot here. And this made Hostal de la Gavina a meeting place for many famous movie stars, even today movie stars like Sean Connery, Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro. But it also became a gathering site for intellectuals, philosophers, politicians, where they would gather and just drink some espresso and, solve the problems of the world. Just for a quick look at, some of the views from the rooms and stuff, I think. So this is where I would imagine myself. And then these are the things that we could do. So my first stop would be to do this sort of overall view, discovering Girona and L'Empordà, which is a region within Girona. So Girona is considered one of the cities with the most history and charm in Spain. You can stroll through an old historic center and very picturesque areas, visit a cathedral that dates from the 11th century, whose interior includes the widest Gothic nave in the world. And then you can also visit a Benedictine abbey. And then you can head over to this area of La Empordanet and discover, medieval villages like Pals and Peratallada, where you can stroll through very small streets like the ones you see in this picture. And you discover, all the history, the charm of all this stone architecture. Another way to discover this part of Costa Brava, because it's so rugged and it has so many coves and twists and turns. It's great doing it from the air. This is kind of like a 4-hour experience. You can see the landscapes in a very different way. It's a 45-minute flight, and you can see the unique panoramic views of the region, flying between Islas Medas, which you see in the picture, and the ruins, Roman ruins of Empuris. Fly over the Mediterranean coves, and you'll see some of the most amazing fishing villages found between the Cape of Begur and the harbor of Palamos. And if you want to, you can even try at flying the plane and see what that feels like. Going back to another sort of more overview experience that we do a lot is mixing, Dalí with this, exploring the Costa Brava. And Costa Brava is also known as the Tuscany of Catalonia, Catalonia being the northeast region of Spain. The Barcelona is the capital. So Costa Brava in the upper that region is a quiet place, great natural beauty, and with the small medieval villages that we've been talking about, but it's also the region where Salvador Dalí lived and developed much of his work. So here we would go to Figueres, which is where the Dalí Museum Theater is at, which is the largest surrealistic object in the world. The building itself, it's a work of art by Dalí, which it occupies the old municipal theater of the town, and it was destroyed during the Spanish Civil War, and which was in the 1930s, and then Dalí came along and turned it into this museum and theater. So it's a work of art in itself, and it houses many famous works by Dalí. You can have lunch in this fishing town that you see in this picture here, called Calella de Palafrugell, where you can eat fresh fish or paella by the sea. You take a refreshing swim in those beautiful clear waters that you see. And after lunch, you can enjoy a quiet walk along El Camí de Ronda, which we're going to talk about next. So I won't describe it much, but it's this path that follows the rugged coastline of Costa Brava. So speaking of the Camí de Ronda, here's an experience where we go hiking in it for 4 hours. So it's this coastal path. You can sort of see it. You see this building with the green door, it goes over there, and then it's coming over here. So it actually surrounds, it goes all along the Costa Brava, or the rugged, coastline. It's a historical path that was created with the function of communicating the different towns, the different beaches, the different coves of the coast. And at the same time, it guaranteed safety for the fishermen, because if their boat crashed against the rocks, then they had a way to get home. And also it was used to control contraband as well. As you can imagine, with so many coves and rocks, it's a pretty easy target for people trying to sneak contraband in. So today is probably the best way to explore the wildest side of Costa Brava. So we would, go with a local guide and enjoy this hiking route along the coast, passing rugged headlands, caves, fishing villages, sandy beaches, while you learn about the history and enjoy the unique views. So it's a 2 or 3 hour hike, and then you can finish with a swim in this beautiful waters. In one of the fishing villages, or you can taste some paella and fresh fish. Obviously, we're going to be talking about fresh fish a lot in this area. Another unique way to see the Costa Brava is from the sea, on a private boat with a professional skipper, and you can see some of the small coves or clear waters where you can swim and snorkel or paddle surf or even scuba dive. The skippers that we use, they are very knowledgeable about Costa Brava, not just about sailing, and they're very passionate about it. So you learn all kinds of interesting stories about the area. The Costa Brava also has its own wines. So Here is a visit to a really, really interesting vineyard or winery called Clos Dagon. And it's just the architectural part of it is really interesting. So because they mix this traditional farmhouse that you see there with the very modern buildings in. So it's located between the seas and the mountains, and it combines perfectly this farmhouse with the winery, with the traditional architecture, but also their modern methods to create their spectacular ones, which is a lot of reds, merlots, you know, um, cabernet, and wines like that. You would visit the winery with the local sommelier, with whom you would wander through the vineyards and the winery and see the grapes and touch the grapes. And they've made a name for themselves in ecological wines by merging traditional methods with some new ecological techniques. So obviously you would take some wine like this lovely couple here is doing, some red, rosé, and so they do have some whites as well. And enjoying also a homemade Catalan style dinner with the beautiful views of the landscape of the area. And throughout the experience, the sommelier would be explaining everything to make your visit very special and inspire you to learn more about the history and the importance of wine in Catalonia. Here's another really cool experience in the area, which is creating your own perfume. So this is another way to discover the landscape, but this time through your nose. So you can capture the essence of the wildest part of Costa Brava and discover the landscape with all your senses, your touch, your smell. You would be guided by Ernesto Collado, who besides being an internationally known niche perfume maker, he's also a prestigious theater maker and popular TV actor in Spain. And he would teach you about the plants and the fragrances. So he picks you up in his Land Rover and drives you to this area of the Alt or High Empordà region. And so he guides you through a walk through this lavender plants and whatever is around there, and explain how you need to pick this flowers to then make your perfume. Then we take you to some vineyards where you enjoy some wine tasting, hosted by the owners of the winery, with some cheese and delicious local products, while the plants that you have collected are being distilled in a mobile distillation device. Then you have lunch and in this natural setting while you wait for the process to do its thing. So after your meal, you finish distilling and elaborate on site your own perfume, which you will bottle up and take home with you. So I like to think of it as capturing, when we travel, we take pictures and then we look at those pictures. So how cool it is that this is a very different way of doing that, creating memories through smell. So you would bring home, instead of a picture, a bottle of perfume, and when you smell it, it would remind you of being there in that experience. You can also dive in this area. It's a genuine paradise for divers from all over the world. So this Medes Islands that we saw in the picture with the airplane before are one of the most incredible spots of La Costa Brava. It's a small archipelago, and it's a marine protected area, which is formed by 7 islets, and it's only a mile off the coast. And it's actually one of the most important maritime flora and fauna reserves in the Mediterranean. So it's a place with spectacular biological richness, both on the seabed as well as in the aquatic environment. They've become a genuine paradise for divers from all over the world. So if snorkeling or diving is one of your hobbies, this you would really enjoy. So there's a lot of marine life. You'll see large groupers, which can be found at shallow depths, which will approach you fearlessly and with curiosity. Also see eagle rays, about, around the bottom, and you'll see some small schools of barracudas, and you can see some underwater caves and, seawalls that are teeming with just life. So these conditions are actually unequaled in all the Western Mediterranean. So they actually, this is a place that many, many divers come from all over the world. Then if diamond's not your thing and you're not into adventure, here's another way to see the medieval villages in a lower pace, but still fun. So you'll be going on electric bikes with a local guide, and you will discover the main different landscapes offered by the region while pedaling through agricultural fields of sweet fruit trees like apples and peaches, as well as the typical Mediterranean forest. And you also have the opportunity to stop and discover several charming medieval villages like the ones that you see here in the picture. So in just a few kilometers, and this activity is like suited for anybody 2 and up in all kinds of physical conditions. You visit some of the most beautiful spots of the area in a very relaxed and soft active activity. Now, here's one of my favorite because I think it's pretty unique and extraordinary. You can be a fisherman for a day. If this is something that you've always wanted to do, or you think this is kind of cool and different, way to experience a culture and way to be really immersed in the culture and do something that locals do. So the Costa Brava, in addition for the beauty of its coast, is also recognized worldwide for the quality of the seafood that they get out of the sea, and especially the shrimp. So in specifically the one that is fished in Palamos, which is one of those fishing villages that we've talked about. So in this unique experience, you spend the whole day from breakfast. You have breakfast with the fishermen, you learn about their trade, and then you get on the boat with them, and you first start from the cabin, learning how they detect and monitor the catches with the sonar and stuff. And then later you learn how to survey the net and how do they select the catch, and it's how the catches is made. And you'll be invited to participate, obviously always following the instructions of the crew. But then once you return to port, you get to eat some of this fresh shrimp that you just help catch with the glass of local wine. Another super fun and different way to see Costa Brava is on a hot air balloon. So this is La Garrocha Volcanic Zone Natural Park. It's a 2-hour experience. You see it from obviously from the hot air balloon. So, people that are going to get into or love hot air balloons, they say they love that, sensation of freedom and tranquility that you feel when you're floating in the air aboard a balloon. But here you top it off because you're going over, dormant volcanoes. This is one of the most interesting areas of dormant volcanoes in all of Europe. So here with a private instructor, he'll direct you throughout the whole journey. When you're up, you'll enjoy contemplating the volcanoes, all the beautiful landscapes. Like you see there, the cone of the volcano is completely covered in trees. And you'll see part of the Pyrenees mid-journey. There's a toast with a glass of cava, of course, and a taste of the coca de llardons, which is bread with tomato and other stuff in it. And then after ballooning, you explore the woodlands around the landing and taking off site with some amazing ancient beach forest, where our guide would talk you about the plants and the wildlife that it's endemic to the region. So this is another way to get really immersed in what Costa Brava is like. And last but not least, another really cool but also important way, if you like kayaking, this is a great way to explore some of the small, or it's the only way to explore some of the small virgin beaches, the caves, some of the islands, these canals like you see here in the picture. This can only be accessed by kayak. So it's a 3-hour route with obviously always an expert guide. and, guiding you, making sure you're safe. And with, we will share a lot of interesting information about the nature and the environment, as well as, anecdotes and curiosities of the history of this part of the Mediterranean coast. So you do several stops along the route, enjoy a snack, take some pictures, go for a swim. And if you're actually an early bird and you do this early in the morning, you'll have very calm waters, magic light, and you'll have deserted caves. So this has been my exploration of La Costa Brava. I hope you've enjoyed, imagining yourself exploring this beautiful region through land, sea, and air, or perhaps, even being a fisherman for a day, or making your own perfume, or diving, scuba diving in a natural reserve. So that's kind of my overview that I have for you today, but I would love to answer any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Jesus. That is part of why we love our relationship with you, is that you've come up with the most creative ways from the local perspective of how to experience an area. And I especially like the whole multi-sensory aspect of what you've suggested to us, things to taste, things to touch, things to smell. In that I think we get so visual on our vacations. I
Mhm.
love this visual tour, but for memories, you're absolutely right. There's so much more to the world. So that was
Well, they do
incredible.
say that smell triggers memories even stronger
Oh,
than visual. So I can, it's a fantastic experience. It's one of my favorites. So
absolutely. I would love to do that perfume experience. That sounds incredible. I also think that picture that you showed us of Calais du Fresnel, that little village on the coast.
yes,
Oh,
yes, yes,
that to
yes.
me is my ultimate travel destination. So you definitely
Hmm.
put the Costa Brava on my bucket list. Those little villages, the beautiful cove, perfect.
Hmm.
Well, I am not
Yes.
seeing any questions. If people have got some questions, please go ahead and post them in the chat box. But there were a couple that came in prior to your event. One of them was about seasons. When is the best time to visit the Costa Brava?
Yes. So all of Spain, I always say the same thing. Spring and fall is your best bet.
Okay.
Always try to avoid July and August. It's just too hot. It is also humid in Costa Brava. So, but May, June, September, October, wonderful months. Wonderful, wonderful months.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And who would you say is the ideal visitor to the Costa Brava? Is it someone who maybe it's their second trip to Spain and they want to go a little more in depth? Families, couples, solo travelers? Who might you counsel to do a trip like this?
Yeah. So I think it's rather than whether it's families or couples, it could be either. But it's more about that mindset of when you travel, do you want to be in the big city, and see what everybody's seeing and what's on the guidebook, or do you want to really experience something that it's more unique, off the beaten path? If that's your personality, like I love that.
Mhm,
I love exploring smaller villages and learning how people do things different in other cultures
mhm.
rather than, going to New York City, for example. So, um, about if that's your personality, I think Costa Brava is great.
Perfect. Okay. That sounds incredible. All right. Well, thank you so
Want me
much,
to touch
Jesus.
up on the COVID or a little
Oh,
bit,
yes,
or
please. Absolutely. Where are we at with Spain right now? It seems to
yes?
be good at the moment, and I've got my fingers crossed for my trip in September. So,
So our numbers are not great right
okay.
now, but there's a caveat there. So what's happening is a lot of the way that Spain has done the vaccinations is they started decade by decade, and they call you and they tell you when you need to show up. You don't get to pick a day or a time. So they started, 90 plus, then they did 80 to 90, 70 to 80. So they just recently started doing about a month ago 30 to 40. Like now all my employees are all vaccinated, all my family is vaccinated.
Okay.
So the problem is the 20 to 29-year-olds that are in summer vacation right now, they're not vaccinated. they're partying late night. So that's why a lot of places have created curfews at 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. because that's when they would be partying. Like, to give you an idea, when I was a high school teenager, when I was a sophomore in high school, my parent imposed curfew was 2:30 a.m. So we live
That's
life
so Spanish.
much later. Yes,
Yes.
yes, it's very Spanish. We have dinner at 10, and then you get ready, and then you go out with your friends. So it's like, 2:30 was my curfew at high school. So you can understand why a 1 a.m. curfew actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So that should curb some of it, but they've also started vaccinating the 20 to 29 last week. They're vaccinating about 500,000 people per day.
Wow.
So, and the goal here is before school starts in September, all these people need to be vaccinated. So there's very little vaccine hesitancy in Spain. So just
Okay.
so where I'm going with this is that even though the numbers look a little bit they look a little bit scary right now. By September, I mean, the government's met every goal. Right now, 55% of the whole country is vaccinated, and in 2 weeks it'll be 65. So they're doing like 10% every like 2 weeks.
Okay.
So by September time, I really think, especially by your trip time,
Yes.
that so much of the population, including the young people, will be vaccinated that we'll see the numbers dwindle.
Excellent. Okay, because right now I don't even need to take a COVID test to come into the country as long as I'm
No,
vaccinated. Is that right?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. I just need to take one to come home, which I
Yes.
know you guys help with, and various tour
Yeah,
operators, cruise
absolutely.
lines, they all help with that. And in terms of traveling right now, it's just a part of the way
Hmm.
we have to travel right now. And so I think if you can be flexible and open to your travel style, I think that Spain seems like a great choice for this fall. So if
Hmm.
you've got any Spain travel ideas, please reach out to us and we would be happy to help make them happen for you. All right, thank you so much, Jesus. We really appreciate it. Our contact information is on the screen here if you'd like to reach out to us and ask any questions. Otherwise, we will see you next time on a future presentation. Thank you, Jesus. Bye bye now.
Bye bye, everybody. Thank you, everybody.